Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and I am here today with Joey Garcia, who is running for the West Virginia State Senate, representing the 13th District. Hello, Joey. It is great to have you here.
Great to be here, Bryan. Thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for coming. Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about you?
Well, my name is Joey Garcia. I live in Fairmont, West Virginia, and I'm running for the West Virginia State Senate in District 13, which is both Marion County and Mon County. And so that's really the major cities there are Fairmont and Morgantown, West Virginia. If you know WVU, you know probably from sports, that's in Morgantown. Fairmont's got Fairmont State, so we're big college area in West Virginia. I've got an interesting background as far as politics goes. I went to law school at WVU, and then about 3 years out of law school, I got my first job working for then Governor Earl Ray Tomblin, who was the last Democrat to have the governor's office in the state of West Virginia. And I was his deputy general counsel. I was his legislative director. Actually, the year in West Virginia, everything flipped from Democrat to Republican back in 2014. And so I've had the opportunity to really see politics in a little bit of a different way from the inside. And so then when I moved back to Fairmont, West Virginia in 2017, I practice law. I do personal injury law. I started my own law firm actually in 2023, where now I do personal injury and criminal justice, criminal law in general, but I also love criminal justice reform. But I was elected to the West Virginia House of Delegates in 2020, and I've served there for the last 4 years.
Excellent. And as a former AAG, criminal justice reform, also big on my plate. And I've also run my own law firm, which is tough. So I give you props. I did not like doing that. But can you tell me a little bit more about the district itself? Tell me about the people there. Tell me about the area.
Yeah, so the districts in the state of West Virginia, they're all about 110,000 people. And there are two state senators for every single district. And so there's 34 districts. That means that every 2 years, 17 state senators are up for election. And so we have one from Marion County and one from Mon County. And this is the year that there's somebody that has to be from Marion County. Um, the district itself, again, it's two very big college towns, two of the bigger college towns in the state of West Virginia. We have one of the more booming economies, I think, in the state of West Virginia, which, we still have a lot of the jobs we've had for a long period of time, like coal mining jobs, oil and gas jobs. But there's a lot of, I think, more diversification in this part of West Virginia, including a lot of more tech jobs. We have a growing healthcare industry here. We have two major hospital systems that do a lot of the work throughout the state of West Virginia, but they're really based here. I think healthcare and education are the two biggest industries, and along with trying to think, but manufacturing still have some of that. So that's a big part of what people do here. And I think we just have really good, hardworking people here. And the one other thing I would stress here, and we talked about this beforehand, we have some great food. You wouldn't think of Fairmont, West Virginia, as I think one of the capital places to come see Italian food, but I think we've got some of the best in the whole country.
I can confirm I've stopped in Fairmont, West Virginia for food before. It's very good. So you've been out meeting these guys, going door to door. What are you seeing as kind of the biggest issues that will come before the West Virginia Senate that you can fix?
So I think one of the major issues we've seen the last couple of years is in West Virginia, there has been really a defunding of our public education system, both as it pertains to K through 12 and also higher education. There's not as much funding that's going into trying to make sure that we keep and educate our best and brightest. And so the last couple of years, one of the bigger issues that I've seen is we've had these really vouchers that have come into play in the state of West Virginia. And that's fine. I have nothing against somebody that wants to educate their child however they want to. But in the meantime, we have not funded our public education system. So in Marion County, just this year, I mean, we're losing right around, I think, 40 to 50 teachers. And at the same time, when we have issues like school safety has become an even bigger issue the last couple of years. We're not providing certain supports, both to teachers and to students, like having a nurse or psychologist there, having other things. And so those are you can't have a better school system when you're just basically taking resources from it all the time. And that's what's happened the last couple of years. And I think we can fix that if we have people in office that value public education. In my family, I have my mom's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, my aunt's a retired teacher. It's kind of in our blood to say that's really where kids get their start, and I think that's something we need to do better.
And what's maybe a piece of legislation you would move forward to work on this?
So there's been legislation the last couple of years that what's called the Hope Scholarship, and I think in what it does is it ends up taking right around $4,300 per student that leaves our public education system, and it gives it to the family to use for a private school or to use for homeschooling. And what we haven't done is we haven't made those counties whole. And so I think one of the things we need to do, actually two things too. I'll add another one. Some of that money's been used out of state, and it's been used for I think companies that don't necessarily that haven't been vetted, and I think that's where we need to limit it to use in the state. But secondly, we need to make sure that a county like Marion County or Mon County has the same amount of money it did beforehand.
Okay. Now, where's an issue that you and your opponent differ primarily?
So that would be one because I know that she has been a big advocate of vouchers and charter schools and things like that. But another one is I think with human rights. My opponent and her husband really the last it was probably about 4 years ago. There was a human rights commission ballot initiative that they helped bring on there to get rid of the Human Rights Commission in Fairmont, West Virginia. And fortunately, we live in a community that said, no, that's not the right thing to do. And it defeated that initiative several times. But I think she's somebody who, you know, to kind of bring it back, I think generally the most important thing that I see with people today is we need young people to be able to stay, rebuild, and succeed right here. That's what I put on my sign. That's the number one issue is to try to keep people here and to stop the migration out of the state of West Virginia because they don't feel like they have the opportunities. And one part of that is we need people to feel comfortable here, no matter who you are, who you love, whatever it might be. And that's where I think we really differ. I think there's some people that would say, oh, if you don't like West Virginia or how things are, you can leave, you can go to San Francisco. No, I want everybody to come here and I want them to feel like they're a welcome part of this community.
What made you finally decide to run for office?
So this is kind of an interesting story. I think I always wanted to run, just because I had people like my grandfather, who was a deputy mayor in the city of Fairmont. I have an uncle who's actually running for my House of Delegate seat right now, but he's a former commissioner in Marion County. I just have people in my family that have always served, and I feel like have shown me you do it for the right reasons. You do it to help people. And a lot of that's not voting on things. A lot of that's just listening and trying to connect people to resources that they may need. But so I was lucky to get in with the governor's office here a couple of years ago, working for Governor Tomlin, who just is somebody who was served for over close to 40 years in the state of West Virginia and the Senate president, finally as governor, and I think did a whole lot of good things. I got to learn a lot from him and work with the legislature, and I just thought, well, I can do this. And so but I work for Jim Justice too, actually, who's the current governor running for U.S. Senate for about for 8 months, and then he decided to switch parties, and that's kind of what got me to say, okay, maybe I'm done with politics and moved back to Fairmont, started a life here where I grew up. But I thought, you know what? I've seen people do it the wrong way, and I've seen people do it the right way. And so I took a couple years. I tried to get back in touch with my community to listen to what I thought people here needed, and to try to see if I could use the experience that I have to really help create good change at a time when I think it's very critical to make sure we keep more young people instead of push them away.
All right, now we're running out of time, but I've got to ask you, this is my favorite question. It's my softball question, but it's my favorite. What is something about your district that makes it special to you?
Man, so we are the home place. I'm going to go back to food because that's just what I like. We are the home place of the pepperoni roll. And some people may say, "What's a pepperoni roll?"
Mm.
And if you don't necessarily live in West Virginia or Myrtle Beach, which is kind of a transplanted place where a lot of West Virginians go. You might not know about it, but it's basically you bake bread and you put a lot of different ways, either stick pepperoni, rolled pepperoni, you got cheese, you got peppers, a whole bunch of things you can put in it. Sauce. So I think, we are the home place of the pepperoni roll. Clarksburg might differ with that opinion, but I like it. And I like them all. We've got Country Club Bakery. We've got Cosesnos, which is where I had one of my campaign kickoffs a couple of years ago. And I don't know. It's funny. I joke with people here recently. Campaigning is eating. I think it's just that's a part of life, and I think that's a special thing that I could tell people about Fairmont, West Virginia. Is come here, try the pepperoni roll, and also hot dogs aren't bad either.
Excellent. All right. And I do remember the pepperoni rolls from when I lived in southeastern Ohio. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. Joey Garcia is running for the West Virginia State Senate for District 13. Thank you very much for coming in today, and best of luck on this campaign.
Thanks, Bryan.